Okay, so I'm applying map function here. So, map can accept integer or string or any function as a first parameter. So I'm calling this addition function for the map. Okay, then I'm passing this list to it. Okay, so you have to convert that result into list again, list of result. Then you can print that result. So just observe what is happening here. The output is coming as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So we are using the map function in different way here. So what is happening in this code? We are calling that map function, correct? So map is not only just used to read the list of numbers, correct? So generally you used it to write, for example, list of map of int comma input dot split. So you were using map function to read the list of input, right? So what I'm getting in the output. So for every element in the input numbers, right, in the input list, we are again calling the map function by passing the addition function, right? So it is not for entire elements, for individual element, right? So here addition function is getting applied on the each element of the list. So here first we'll pass this entire list, right? I mean addition function we will pass, reference is n. Then for each element n plus 1 is happening. Okay, so map will basically do whatever you are trying to apply the condition. So you can use the map function in this way also, not just to read the numbers or convert integer to string or string to integer, right? So suppose same function I can do like this. Now what is happening? I have passed two set of values. I mean two separate, you can call it as a tuple, right? So it's two tuples I'm passing. You can also pass list also, no need of tuple. Okay. So in this case, what is happening? Addition function is applying on these two lists separately, right? And not on entire array for individual elements of the array, right? So first 1 plus 4 it is accessing, 2 plus 5 it is accessing, then 3 plus 6 it is accessing. So we are calling this map addition function through map. And what is the parameter? This list. Okay. So don't get confused here. Map is taking this addition as the reference, and these parameters are coming from this list, right? Is that clear? So you can use map to do this kind of output also. Similarly, like last time we discussed, right? So numbers equal to, you can use map function along with the lambda, right? So map of lambda, you can take the variable I, then 100 minus I. Tell me the output of this code now. Yeah. Yeah. So Baladitya, this also you can do. So here you are using the lambda function. Here I'm using the user defined function. So using lambda also, you can do the same output. So like what he has written here, both of them are same. There is no difference here. But it will return the object, right? So you have to convert that into list. Same output, x plus x. So for every element in the list, we are applying this lambda function. So the only difference is this is lambda function, this is the user defined function. Okay, so here same way, what we are doing for every element in the list, we are applying this operation 100 minus I. Right, so we are basically subtracting the value from this list 100, right? So 100 minus 1, 100 minus 2. So in that way, you can try to apply the lambda function, right? So similarly, can we take one more example where say, okay, let me take one list, for example. So now you can create a lambda function for the map. Directly you can do list of map of lambda I colon, right? So what I want to do, I want to find out length of each string in the list, length of I. What I should write after that? Tell me. Map of lambda x colon lambda length of I. Yes. So colon A. And directly print the result. Okay. So we are getting the length of each string in the list. So you can do all this on single line with the help of lambda function as well as map function. Okay. So like this, you can use the map not only just to read the string values. So hope you have some clarity on this, right? So similarly, we have one more important function called as enumerate. Okay, enumerate function. So see what I'm doing. Okay, so by seeing this output, what you are understanding, what is that enumerate function is doing? Yeah, so it is attaching index and value pairs, right? So let me give one more value. Now what is happening? Yeah. So for example, for some students, for some section, they are beginning from the roll number 100. So I want to start the index value starting from 100. So you can pass enumerate function, the list for which you want to iterate the over the index along with the starting value. So your 100 is indicating the starting value. So basically enumerate is used to make the index value pairs, right? So what does it do? To create index value pairs from the given iterable value, right? So given iterable, it can be list or string or anything. Okay, so suppose if you want to apply the enumerate on some string or some characters, so if you want to iterate over them along with the index and the value, so you can use two variables. For loop, you can use for I and j in, you can use enumerate function. For I and j in enumerate, so what should be the reference? str1. So for I and j in enumerate str1, we can print both index as well as value. Okay, so now we are getting all the values along with their index numbers, right? So this is important because in many tools, software tools like Excel, right, PDF, you always get the column value starting from 0, right, by default. But if you want to update it, you can change that particular order also by mentioning the condition. So if I mention 56, what is my starting index? 56. So 56, 57, 58, 59. So enumerate is basically used to make the index value pairs. Okay, so let's do some question based on this. Okay, so given a list of integer values, find the index of max first index and the first index of maximum number in the list, right? So this you have to do it using enumerate only. Okay, not using anything else. You have to apply the enumerate concept on this, right? So let's create the function called as max index, right? Which will take the num array, num list, right? You can temporarily, I'll make it as parse. Then we can call this, right? Max index function result equal to max index. Then you can pass the entire list to it. Okay. So how can you find it using the enumerate? Can you try? So you can use both the I and j variable as I told you here, right? So I will keep track of index value, j will keep track of the actual value, right? So you can compare. Initially, you can assume some maximum value as zeroth value, correct? Then you inside the function, you can use for loop and check if the value is greater than the initially assumed value. If it is greater, you can store that index position into max index, correct? Then once you reach the dead end of the list, you can just return that maximum index. So can anyone tell me how to do it using enumerate? So initially you can assume max value equal to num of 0. Why num of 0? Because I'm passing the entire list to the function, right? So I'll assume that 0th index is the maximum index, right? I mean 0th value is the maximum value. So that I'm taking it as a initial value, right? Then what you have to do? Tell me, anyone? You have to use both I and j indexes and enumerate over the array for I comma j in what is our array name? Enumerate of num, correct? So what should be the logic here? Tell me the logic here. If j is greater than max value, okay. So why j? So Surya Teja is telling j is greater than max value because j will keep track of the actual value. I will keep track of the index value, correct? So very good. So if j is greater than max value, what you have to do? If j is greater than max value, what you have to do? In one more variable you have to take, right? So max index, initially you have to assume it as 0. J is greater than max value. I have to update max index to what? I or j? I. Okay. Right. Next. Once we come out of the loop, what we have to return to the function? Return max index. Correct. Function call will return with the max index. We are not printing anything, right? So yeah, we have to print a result. Okay. So why I'm getting the output as 9? We are returning the max index value. J is greater than that particular max value. First index, right? Find the first index of the maximum number. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. Again, here it is returning the 78. So what you have to do, I want to get the output as, what should be my output? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have to get the output as 7. So what is the modification you will do? So it is returning the maximum number index, fine. But since it is duplicated twice here, it is returning the latest number, but I want to return this only. You can take simple example if you want, like I'll take 1, 3, 7, 2, 7. Okay. Now it is returning 4, right? So break. Okay, fine. Where should be the break? Something is missing, right? What should I add? See, max value I have updated only once. Initially, I've assumed that J is greater than max value. So max value also should get updated, right, along with the max index, so that for the next iteration we should know what is the current max value. Yeah, so Nikhil is telling max value equal to J. Yes, so we have to also update the maximum value, so that when we go back to the for loop we know what is the current max value, right? So now in this case I'm getting the output as 2, right? So we can use f string index of first max value the list. Right, so you can format your output, or you can just print it inside the bracket only. Okay, so like this, for this kind of logics you can use the enumerate. So the job for you will be very easy because you are iterating on both the index as well as the value, right? So you need not to use a separate for loop for keeping track of index and keeping track of the value. So for such kind of questions, this particular way of using enumerate will be helpful. Okay, so similarly, suppose if I want to, I'll give one more question so you can try it. What I want to do, let me just frame the question. Okay, so Baladitya is trying very short quotes. Maybe he's expert, I think. Yeah, right. So he's trying all that in a single line. Hmm? So this might be a bit confusing, but whatever you are learning, whichever you are understanding, you can use it. Okay. So you need not to simplify everything, because sometimes even the small codes also will be confusing. Even though it is a single line, it is not easy to understand. So this will be general way, like, okay. So wait, let me give one more question. Okay. Use normal for loop only. No need of using lambda every time. You can use it, not in like problem, but until you get the clarity, right? As long as you have clarity in what you are doing. Okay. So find okay, not the first, just simple again. Find the non-repeating character from the given string. So what is the question? You have to find out the non-repeating character. First you can take find the non-repeating character. First non-repeating character from the given string. For example, if your string is uh, index you have written, sorry, and the index of, right? So suppose if your string is something like this, okay, what will be your output? Suppose this is your string. So triple H, I, J, triple K. So all the most of the characters are repeated except I and J. But which one is coming first? I. So you have to return that index. Correct? You can return that particular index. Yeah. So how can you do it using enumerate? You can take the string, right? str1 equal to, take something like, for example, I'll give you a string. Okay, so for I comma j in enumerate of str1. You can enumerate str because it is a string, right? So string is iterable, so you can use enumerate on this. Then what you have to do? Condition. If condition you can apply. So you have to find out the non-repeating character. Every time you are iterating over the string, you have to check, yeah, what is the condition could be. If str1 dot, you have to find out the count, right? So yeah, very good. So if str1 dot count of, which I have to pass the parameter, which count you have to check, I or j? Yeah, very good. So j is representing the value. So if str1 dot count of j equal to 1. Why I'm checking with 1? Because non-repeating character means it should appear only once, correct? Then if I get such index, such a character, so what we can do, we can directly print it. Print the index is, what should I print? I or j? I should print I. Then you can immediately break out of the loop because we are looking for first non-repeating character, correct? So you can just stop it over there. So what is the output I'm getting? 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So G is our first non-repeating character. So that's why we are getting the output as 5. Okay, so hope you got some clarity on how to apply the enumerate function. Okay. So you guys told me that I discussed reduce, right? Did I discuss in detail reduce function? Reduce function. Yes or no? Okay, so I think I've discussed this. Please go through the previous session. You'll get some clarity how to use the reduce function, right? Then where we had stopped is generator versus list comparison, right? So this is our main topic today, generator versus comprehension. Okay. right? So generator object will not generate the final value directly. So you have to convert that into list first. Okay. So both of them are using same syntax except square bracket and normal bracket, and the output is also same. So what is the difference I told you in the last session, right? Compared to list comprehension generator. So what I said, generator use something called as yield keyword. So it doesn't generate and store the entire output at once in memory, correct? And it gives the output based on user requirement. Whereas list will first store all the data, then return the value, correct? So it's much faster compared to list, right? So generator is much faster compared to the list in terms of memory efficiency and space efficient. I mean the speed. So you can just use the same code, for example, to make you understand how it is effective. So here, suppose if I want to see only the next value, not the all the value, right? So I into 3, I into 2, right? So one part 2, it will take some other value. So what it is printing? Next of Z2. So what does this next indicate? Though it is iterating over the entire list, it is not producing the entire list at once. You are calling only next object to, so only it is giving you 45 part 2, the first value, correct? So similarly, if I write it once again, print next of Z2, now it is giving you 32 part 2, right? So this is the advantage with the generator. You need not to generate all the values at once. You can just uh, get the values based on your requirement. Similarly, I told you with the help of yield, you can uh, return the value instead of returning the entire list. You can return only that particular value with the help of yield, right? So yield keyword also is their generator concept, right? So for example, let's take, I think I have explained this in the last session. Just I'm revising it so that you can recollect. Okay, so we have two functions here. I mean, two strings inside the function. Then let's call this function result equal to function. Then print next of result. Okay, so it is only yielding this particular first value, correct? So if I write it again, I will be able to return the next value, right? So in that way, we can use the generator. So in terms of iteration. So generator generally uses O of 1 time complexity, whereas list uses O of n, because it has to traverse the entire list at a go and access the elements. Whereas generator will access them in constant time because it doesn't store the data at all. It will generate the output only based on the user's requirement. So overall time complexity, if you talk, generator is very much fast compared to the normal list approach. So to understand this in better way, so you can take some example. I think this I was explaining in the last session also. Okay, let's use a list here to calculate square root of numbers, just like what we have done here. Okay, so use for loop. I'm using for loop. You can start with any value. So assume I'm starting with 4, going up to n, then result dot append of I into 2. Okay, so I'm just finding the square roots. Then I will return this result to the main function. Then we will read the input from the user. Okay. Then we will call this square function with the value n. Right. Okay, so I've given the n as 20. That means I want to go up to the 20 and find the square root of numbers starting from 4. But since I'm using array here, I can't use next of res, correct? Suppose if I use next of res of 0, this will give me the error. So int object is not an iterator. So we can't traverse the list like this, right? Using a list operation. So this is basically not supported in the list concept, right? So if I want to print all the values, the only way is if I want to print the values, I have to use list result of 0, correct? Or I have to access the entire list for I in res print I. Okay, so here I'm getting the square root of numbers starting from 4, right, up to 20, up to the 20 square roots we are getting. Correct. So this will basically, if you compare the time complexity of this is for iteration also it will take, and for accessing also, for finding the value also it will take more time. Correct. So compared to the generator, we are just comparing how it will be efficient. So this is the general way of finding the square root using the function and the normal list, right? So the same thing can be uh, written like using generator differently. So I don't want to use list here, right? Then instead of result dot append, instead of return res, so we will just write yield, right? Yield space I into 2. Okay, L equal to, we will call that square function with the 5. 5 or 20, you can call it with 20. Print next of res, right? So here I can access values one by one, unlike a list, right? So I'm getting the generator. A generator is basically creating the individual values one by one, right? Which is not supported by the list operation. So if you the code is same, right? Both the code are same, but if you compare the time complexity, this will be much lesser compared to the list, right? Because it is yielding value one at a time. So basically, it does not store values at a time in memory, right? So how does it work? So basically, as per the request, right? So you need not to allocate also. You need not to allocate memory to store the square root values. Yeah, we can put it. The only thing is I'm just explaining how to access individual values using generator, which is not supported, memory efficient using normal list. Yes, if you use for loop, it will work. So like for I in res print, can I print directly I? Will it work? See, this will work, but there is no different. But if the same thing, if I write print next of res So now you are accessing them one by one. Previously, we were accessing all of them at a time. Here, it is yielding one at a time. So these values are calculated dynamically as and when you are iterating over the loop. So they are not stored all at once in the memory. Correct. So this thing might be confusing for you to understand because you don't know the internal procedure how it is working. But in general, what you can understand is generator using yield doesn't store all the values in memory and waste the memory space, right? So it will yield it only when you call it. So when you are calling it, the next function generally it is a constant time. It will take constant time to compute the next value, right? So similarly, space also we are not using. We are not creating any space, right? We are not storing any list like this and appending it, right? We are just yielding the value based on the function call, right? So in that way, the generator is more efficient. In general, you can remember generator is more memory efficient compared to the list comprehension, right? Okay, let's solve some more example based on generator. So in the output, the value of square of 6. Is it? Yeah. So it has to start from 4, 5. Okay, I have to just remove this. Okay, so just observe uh, when I am calling this inside the loop, first value that is getting printed is 25, correct? So even 4 is not getting printed, starting with 4, right? So when I say next, it is directly going to the next iteration. So starting value is 4, though it is 4, it is first printing 5 square. Then after 5, right? After 5, what is happening? The iteration is going on up to the end of the list, right? For I in RES. So RES is what? Squares of 20. So what happening at this point? So you can just do one thing to understand this. Okay. See here. So when you are using list function, all the values are generated, correct? All the values are generated. But when you use for loop inside for loop, is it printing again? No, right? So now you comment line this. Now it is printing. So you understand how it is working in memory. This, when I'm printing all the values here, and once again I'm trying to iterate over the result, is it printing anything? No, right? The reason being the values are already accessed using RES. So again, you are not wasting, memory is not wasted here because you already access the values. So you don't iterate over the result once again, right? So here this loop has no effect on the output. But if I comment line this, and again I want to access, now here it is skipping the values. So why it is skipping the values? You should observe carefully because we are using next function here, right? So I is when I is 0, right? Okay, so 16, 25, 36, 49. That's what you should print, right? So when I is 0, you are not actually printing that ith value. You are going and printing the next value from the result. That means you are printing this. Again, when you go back to the I, you are skipping 36 and printing 49. So that's why this next is skipping that previous value. So hope you are understanding this. So if you want to print all the values, you can just put right. Again, this will become same, right? Like normal list only. But the only thing is it is memory efficient because you are not using any list to store the values and then return. You are yielding one at a time. So though you are seeing the output all on the same line, they are not stored somewhere in the memory. They are accessed one by one, right? So when you call it, it will be accessed. Okay. So, so there is one more way to use generator. Suppose if you don't want to use this yield function, so as I already told you, generator has created using normal bracket. So you can just use normal bracket. So I for I in n if I mod 2 equal to 0 for I in reason, or you can directly print it. Okay. Print star res. See, what is the star res? It is a packing operator, right? Unpacking operator. So today we had one assessment where mm, in the Python only. Yeah. So in order to print the list element, they had given the condition as you have to use the for loop only. So some students were using star res, it was not working because it was blacklisted. So some things will be not available in Python because Python is very user friendly. You know, a lot of shortcuts will be there. People tend to use those shortcuts while doing problem solving. So you should be very careful what works and what doesn't work. And you should always know alternative methods to work on the coding, right? So sometimes these shortcuts will not help you to do the things. So can anyone tell me how to print the list element without the star res? Normal for loop, right? So for I in res, print I. So this was the condition. So they mentioned whitelist and blacklist. Whitelist is for loop, blacklist is star res. So because it is easy to use, so they just blocked it. Now what is this we are doing here is it is a generator. You can use the same thing using list also. It will also give you the same result. See, there you might assume what is the difference? Just one bracket, right? But just this bracket is more powerful, right? So if you use list, what is happening? So when you use list, what does this list do? First, it will create all the filter value, right? Even number values. Then store all the values in the result at once, right? They are stored in the memory directly. But if you use generator, though you are getting output on the screen, same like list, the values are generated one by one without storing anywhere, right? So you can just write down generator doesn't store values in memory at once, right? It will be given based on the iteration. So if you are indexing one by one, it will generate on that moment, right? So hope you can apply the generator in this way to make the outputs more memory efficient and space efficient also, right? So now I'll give one question. You can try it using generator. Okay, so just stick to the topic. So find a simple question I'll give you. Find the uh, anyways, okay. Find the factorial I'll give. Find the factorials. right? So I want you guys to print the factorial from the given number, right? For the up to 5. So find the factorial 5 using generate, right? Simple question. So can you try it? So you can take the n value as 5. Then I'll just give you the hint. So for I in range of 5. So I have to go for range of 5 because I'm trying to find out the factorial of 5. So obviously I have to traverse that number up to the last digit, right? Starting from 0 or 1. You can start from 1 if you want to and go up to 6. Yeah. So can you do this using a generator? Or if you don't want to use for loop, what is the alternative way? Any one method you can use. If you want to use for loop along with the generator, is it possible? Obviously, for factorial, what is the logic you will use? Recursion you will use, right? So you know the recursion concept, right? So I'll make your job easier. Let's create one function called as fact of n, where you are calling this function to do the factorial, right? So you know the factorial condition, right? So if n equal to 0, what you have to do? You have to return 1. That means you have to stop from there. Else n into fact of n minus 1. So I'm just using the recursion. You can use normal for loop also. Okay. This is much easier for me to understand. So I'm using recursion. You know the recursion concept, right? So every time you're calling that function again and again until you reach the 0. So I'm multiplying the intermediate result by n. Okay, so this is the for factorial function which is going to do that job for me. Now, what we can do, we want to store the result somewhere using generator. Okay, so what is the code you will write inside this? So call the fact function using generator here in this bracket. You have to call it. So every time you call this particular factorial function, right, that will basically do the job for you using the generator. So we are not going to store the intermediate result somewhere with the help of generator. We'll directly find the output value. Yeah, so yes, return we have to do. Good. So Surya Teja for fact of x for Excel range of 1 comma 6. Correct. Okay. So basically, you see, along with the final output, we are also able to generate the intermediate result also and store it in the list, right? So we are finding the factorial of 5 using the generator. But what does it to do is, along with the generating the final value, all the intermediate value up to that point also, you are getting it. Okay. So you can do like this also with the help of factorial using the generator. But you might feel like, what is the use of doing this? It's similar to the normal way of approach, right? But the thing is, this is more memory efficient, because since you are using the generator, all these intermediate values are not stored anywhere in the memory. So this will take much lesser time and space compared to the normal approach. Okay. So this will be the way we need to understand. So sometimes it is confusing why I have to use this kind of approach. So just keep in mind that whenever you are using generator, you are making sure that you are taking the less memory space compared to the any other uh, type of approach, right? Then there was one more question based on these kind of approaches. So all of you might be heard of Fibonacci series, right? So we have something called as Fibonacci series. So what is Fibonacci series? Fibonacci series, anyone tell me? Normal Fibonacci series. Say, for example, I'll start with 0, 1, 1. So you're adding our previous output, right? So 1 and 0 is 1. Then 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. So this is called as Fibonacci series, right? Now, on the same Fibonacci series, they are asking for Fibonacci series, right? So what is Fibonacci series is, instead of adding one value, you are adding three values together. So for example, 0, 1, 1 are my initial values, correct? Then we will add, to generate the next value, we will add all the three values. So what are the previous three values? 2, right? So the output will be 2. Next, we will add next set of three values. So next set of three values means these three, 2 plus 1 plus 1. So output will be 4. Then we will add these three values. So 4 plus 2, 6, 6 plus 1, 7. So this is called as Fibonacci series. Okay. So this Fibonacci series can be also created using memory efficiently. You can do it using generator. Okay. So Fibonacci n can take the n value. So obviously for Fibonacci series, you need to have three initial values. So A, B, C, these are the three variables I'm using to create the initial values. Then we can iterate over the loop, right? Until that nth series, right? So while uh, A is less than n. So why I'm taking A? Because A will be having that, the count of limit of how many, what is the length of the series we want to generate, right? So you will get to know. Then I'll write something called as yield A. Yield A. Then how can you update all the values? Right. So generally, what is the logic for Fibonacci series? First, you will print A plus B. Then you will update A value, right? How will you update A value? A equal to B, correct? B value goes into A, right? Then what else you have to do? Normal Fibonacci series. Can anyone tell me how to do it? Forget about this logic. Just talk about normal Fibonacci series. So initial A value and B value, you will store it as 0 and 1, right? Then we will store another variable, result equal to A plus B, where you are first printing that initial values. After this, what we have to do? Update A value and B value, right? In general, in C language, how you do it? Yes, no one. So to get the next set of values, what I have to do? You can print this result, right? Instead of storing it, you can directly print it. Is it necessary to store or print? No one knows normal Fibonacci series. Hmm. Yeah, so A equal to B, B equal to result, right? So obviously we require that to store, because we need to know what is the current sum, right? So this will generate 1, so result will be 1. then the B value goes into A, and result value goes into B. This is the normal Fibonacci series, right? So in Fibonacci, you can do all of them all together on same line. So like this. So what does this do is basically B values goes into A, C values goes into B, then A plus B plus C values goes into C. Okay. So that is the requirement, right? So now you can read the input number. For example, I want to generate the first 10 Fibonacci values, right? So for I in, I can call this particular Fibonacci function directly in the uh, loop, right? So Fibonacci. So I can call the Fibonacci with the limit, right? Or you can directly mention 10 here. No need of this here. See what is happening here. We don't have any return value, nothing, but still I'm getting the output. So how I'm getting this output is the trickiness here, right? So we are not returning any value from this particular Fibonacci, right? Still we are printing the output. So for I in Fibonacci 10, print I. I'm just printing that I, but we are getting that series, right? We can extend this. Yeah. So up to the range of 20. So now you understand why I'm using A here. So A is keeping track of uh, first 20. I mean, we have to be within that limit of 20, right? In the range. So A will keep track of whether I'm exceeding that N or not. And we are updating that A value every time, right? So how it is working? Hope you are understanding. So what is the initial value of ABC 011, right? So B value will be updated to A. So that means so first you will yield A. So obviously we'll print 0 on the screen. Then after that B value will be stored in A. So A value gets updated to 1. Then C value goes into B. So that means B value gets updated into 1. Then A plus B plus C goes into C. So now C value is getting updated to how much? 2, correct? So in that way, you should know. Is it 2 or 1? Is it 2 or 1? C value. What is my A initial value? 0. So B and C value is 1. So C value will be 2. Now, once we go back to the while loop, what is the condition we are checking for? A, right? So 1 is still less than 20. So we can keep continuing with our series. Then we will yield the current A. So basically, this is acting like a return keyword. Yield is acting like a return keyword, right? So you are yielding the current A means the current A value is 1. So again, you are printing 0, 1, 1, right? So first you printed 0, again you printed 1. Then again, same thing process will be repeated. B values gets updated to A. So again, A value will be 1. B value get updated to C, that is 2. Then C value will be how much? 2 plus 1 plus 1. So totally 4. Now we are checking this series, right? So 1 is less than 20. Again, condition is true. So we are keep on iterating over the series in that way. So who is keeping track of the series is A, and who is generating the Fibonacci sum is C, right? So every time we are updating the values in that order. So here 20 is indicating what? So is it first 10 Fibonacci series or the Fibonacci values, or the Fibonacci values from 0 to 20? What is this code doing? Is it printing first 20 Fibonacci values? No, right? So it's printing the Fibonacci values from 0 to 20. correct? We should know this approach also. And why we are using this is, again, it's more memory efficient because we are not storing any data in memory. We are just yielding it based on the requirement, and we are not even returning to the main function also. So when I is 0, what will happen? So can you tell me what will be the iteration value of I? So initially I is 0, right? So we are starting from 0. What will be the next value of I? So how I is countering all this series? So my question is, initial value of I is 0. What will be the next value of I? After that? So my question is it going in the order of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it changing somewhere? Yeah, in order. So if it is going in the order means, if it is going in the order means it has to print 0 to 19th value, right? See, it is only printing up to 13. So what is the, yeah, okay, let's take a bigger number. Yeah, so somebody is mentioning 1 in order of the yield of A, in order. No, it gets value from, yeah. So this is the correct answer. It's getting the value from yield, right? So yield is returning this one, right? And that value is taken as a reference. Okay. So this is a bit confusing because you are not knowing how the iteration is going on. So the output depends on the yield value. Maniteja I plus plus. Okay, not I plus plus. In order of the yield of A. This is the correct answer. So I value is as per the yield value. Okay. So when you increment for I in Fibonacci 50 means, so you are not generating 50 values, correct? So you are generating only few values before 50. So I and A are interrelated here, right? So you can just make a note of that. So it's a bit confusing to understand this kind of syntaxes. Okay. So I'll take one more example and I will show you why you need to use the generator function. Okay. So all of you have done one of the question which I had given in the first assessment, right? So what is that question is Harshad number, right? Do you know Harshad number, right? What is Harshad number? Harshad number is an integer which is divisible by sum of its digit, right? So what is the logic that you have applied? So many of you use the normal logic, which is like this. Okay. So I need not to explain this. You can just understand the logic here. So how does this work? Sub plus equal to temp mod 10. So basically you have to find out each number from the given number, sum them and divide it by the main number, right? And if it is divisible, then we say it as a Harshad number, right? So first you have to find out uh, each number from the each digit from the given number, right? And sum it. Then you have to divide the number. So this is indicating what? Temp equal to 10 by 10. Now, once you do this, so what you will do, the main number, will take the mod with the sum. Correct. And if that is 0, you say that it is a Harshad number. Okay, so you can see 171. So 171 is a Harshad number because sum of its digit is what? Sum of its digit is 9. Correct. So 171, sum of its individual digit is 9, and 171 is divisible by 9. Correct. So you have to divide that given number by some, and if it is completely divisible, we call it as a Harshad number. Right. This is a normal logic which you need to know. Again, a lot of shortcuts are there, but you should know this approach only. Dividing by taking the mod, adding into the sum, then dividing it by 10 again, so that you get to access the each digit one by one, starting from right to left. Correct. So that is the syntax. So the same code, many people have done it in a different way, right? Suppose okay. So we are reading the number from the user. Then directly you can do it in the single line. So you can do a mod. You can apply some function, inbuilt function. Inside you can pass the list comprehension. So int of I for I in A, right? Then you can check if result equal to 0, print Harshal. Okay. Int object is not iterable. Yeah. So here, what is the problem? Since it is an integer, we can't iterate over it. You know that, right? In the list comprehension, you can't iterate over integer. So let me read it as a integer only. Then here I will convert it into int. Okay. So why I'm doing this? Because I want to access each character, each digit from the number and convert it into integer, then take the sum of it. So overall, in a single sum function, we are doing it. We are passing the entire list comprehension inside the sum function, right? Again, A should be string. Yeah, it is string only, right? Result equal to the fake. Sum. Just restart the kernel. See. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you see there is no error, but still it was showing error. So you just need to restart sometime. When you get stuck, just close the laptop, restart, or just take some time and continue. Okay. So this is using what list comprehension, right? This is one more way. So instead of dividing and finding each digit and adding it to sum, you can do it all at a time using list comprehension. So both of the approaches are normal approaches. There is no much difference in that. And sometimes see all these ways you should know, because I have seen this kind of restriction. Again, they will ask you to use map function only. For example, they won't allow you to use some keyword. They won't allow you to use list comprehension or normal brute force. So they will mention the sorption number should be calculated only using uh, some other technique. For example, I'll say map function. For example, I'll store this result in the some result using some function, but along with that, I will use map. So here what we are doing, instead of list comprehension, we are using map, correct? Because before doing the sum, I have to convert each character, each digit into, each digit that I am entered as a string into integer, because we are not converting into int here. Then first we have to map it into int, then take the sum, right? Then finally what you can do, if int of a, this is necessary because it is integer data, it is string data. Then if int of a mod result equal to 0. So you can just print yes, else print no. Okay, so this also works, but you see the approach. We have list comprehension, we have map function, we have brute force approach, that is using while loop. But all these three approaches are also not memory efficient when you compare it to the generator. Okay, so when you compare it to generator. So can you tell me how to do it using generator? What is the change we have to do? So you can just modify this code. What is the change I have to do in this code? Again, this entire thing can be minimized. You can put that in the single statement. Print Harsha if result else print not print, right? Yes, something is missing here. Result equal to int of a mod some. Obviously, this result we have to check it with 0, right? Right. So what we are trying to store, whether this entire thing is equal to 0, correct? The number after dividing by sum of its digit is equal to 0. That result we have to store it in res. Then we can convert that entire thing into single line. Yeah, somebody tested. Yeah, the question is how to do it using generator, correct? So all that you have to do is just avoid this bracket, square bracket, you will get the same answer. No difference. So when you are directly using brackets and doing the operation, this will be considered as a generator. If you use that as a list, it is unnecessarily storing the data into the memory, right? So you can just delete these extra brackets which I've added. Okay, this also works. This also works, but which one is more memory efficient? This is more memory efficient because we are not using list. Instead, doing it generator. Okay. Right. So these are the ways in which you need to know what is the optimized version that I have to know, and what are the alternative approaches also you should know, because you don't know what is the requirement or conditions they will put. Sometimes they will remove all these things and they will say use normal while loop and iterate using for loop or any other loop, right? In that case, all these things will become irrelevant. You can't use any of the syntax because they are making your job much easier. Using single line you are able to do it, right? So that's why you should know all the approaches, right? So just don't follow whatever you are able to do it. Think about the different ways of doing it using the concept that you are learning. Okay, so similarly we have all and any function. These are also very powerful simple functions. Sometimes they use it. You just need to know these functions. Okay, all and any function. The name is all and any functions, not and, all and any. Okay, so let's take one example to understand. Okay, not supported. Okay, fine. I'll remove this string. Okay, so just see what is the output I'm getting. False. I'm not even printing, but still I'm getting the output. So what is this all function doing? The name of the function is all. In that you can pass the iterator. This is the iterable, right? So list is an iterable. So what we are checking, this is the condition for n in res. So we are checking whether all the elements of the list are greater than 0 or not. So all is doing what the name itself says. So the condition has to be true for all the elements of the given list, right? Suppose I just include the positive integers. I'll get the output as true because this condition is satisfied for all the elements of the given list. So let's insert back the negative values and false also. Now I'll change this all to any. Now I'm getting still true. The reason is the n is greater than 0 condition may not be true for all the values of the list except few values. So any one of the condition is true means the output will be true, just like or, right? So any and all are similar to your and or function. So this condition should be true for any one of the element in the list, that is called as any function. If we use all, it has to be true for all the elements. So can I just add the false statement? See, I'm getting the output as false because false is again, it's not an integer. Any is an integer, right? I mean, the remaining values it will consider. So false also will be considered as a negative. I mean, the false output only. But you can't include string values for any statement, right? So greater than not supported between, okay, greater than now. What you have to do here, you can just convert that into is not supported for. Yeah, so basically for this logic necessary, just delete this. Okay. So this is very powerful for certain logics, right? So where you want to check whether all the elements are following certain criteria or not. So for example, you can try something else in a similar way. Suppose I have some string. Okay, something like this. Then I can pass an iterator over this particular any function. So I dot I'll use is upper or I in str. Okay. So what it is doing? Again, you can remove just this extra bracket unnecessary. So if you add extra bracket, it will store into the memory. So don't add, it will be treated as a generator. So any function you are passing the iterator here. So I dot is upper for I in str1. So basically you're checking whether any one of the character is in uppercase or not. You will change this to all. You are getting false, right? So that means this condition is not true for all the elements of the given string, right? So generally this is used to do a large scale output and to shorten it into a single value output. Generally, especially for checking the conditions, like uh, what do you say, conditions apply, those kind of things, right? If to be eligible, you need to have certain parameters in that way, or like to vote, you need to be eligible, or your age should be above 18, right? So in that way, you can use this particular all function. Like you can combine multiple conditions also inside all. For example, you can just update this. So see what I'm doing, just observe. Okay. I think str1. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, did anyone understand? Length of I should be greater than 8, correct? Yeah. So all this condition must be true, correct? So length of I mean the length of this particular string, what I'm passing, right? So in this case, okay, I have only one value, so you need not to uh, do this. But if for suppose I have a list of value, like multiple parameters I can iterate over that. So length of I should be greater than 8, and inside all I'm combining any, and I'm checking if there is any digit for the string for the given character in the given string, right? So I'm checking if there is any integer digit in the given string. All this thing I have to iterate for the main string, right? So if I change this to any again, it is false because at least one you should have, correct? Suppose I'll add 5, 6. Yeah, still I'm getting false only because 1 minute. Okay, here I have to I dot each digit. Let's take I. Here I'll take J. Or okay, here we'll done for J in I. Still it's not working. So actually this should return true. The condition is for J nested. Okay, still it's not working. Basically multiple conditions I'm combining. Inside all, first condition is length of I should be greater than 8. That one thing. And I'm combining one more condition here using any J dot is digit. Correct. Oh, yeah, correct. Sorry. Very good. Fine. So this is a mistake, right? So here I had written I instead of str1. So length of the digit, length of the string should be greater than or equal to 8. Okay. And there should be at least any single digit. Any means any digit, not compulsory. Then in the entire characters, we are iterating for I in str1. So if I use it any also, I'll get true. So any digit, right? So again, this will return false because length is less than 8. Now we are getting the output, right? So you can combine these kind of functions into a single line in Python using the with the help of any and all, right? Is there in between, so it's false for in. Okay, yeah. So basically, you can just try it. Just whatever the thought I got, I'm just explaining you here. You can write different examples if you want. All, or for example, like combining. If you want to check the count of elements, for example, uh, like if you are having two lists, right? And you want to check whether the list is having all the unique elements or not. Like you can do that also with an example. For example, we have some list like this. You can pass lst dot count. Okay. So count of I equal to 1 for I in list. Okay. So this also you can do. So what does it do? Finding the unique element. So you know, right? You have done that program. Unique elements or not. So you're checking whether the list has all the unique elements or not. So using all function. So this particular condition should be true for all the elements of the list. So lst dot count of I equal to 1 for I in list, right? So this will return false and this will return true. So basically the return type of all function is what? So only true or false. So it is a built-in function that returns true if all of the items past the iterable are true, correct? So the condition must be true for all the elements, right? So this is the condition for all the elements. So the output will be only true or false. If I use any, I'll get true because few elements are unique, few elements are not. So any one of the element is matching with this condition means it will return true. So in like this, you can just use any and or based on the requirement and understanding. So it's not like it's mandatory. You just need to know these concepts, right? So I think we're already late, 8:10. So we covered some important library functions and we understood how to apply this basically generator, how powerful the generator is. We understood. Okay, so we'll continue in the next session with the Python regular expression. So please go through this. I'll just show you the website in W3 School. Before coming to the next session, I want you guys to, okay, Python REGX. So in detail explanation is there because we can't teach this entire module in one class. It's very vast, right? Regular expression is basically used for pattern matching. So I'll just show you one example here. So you can just take a lot of good examples are there here. You can directly learn from this site. So what we're trying to find in this code is find all function is there, which is a part of regular expression. So import module. So I will also teach how to create user defined library functions and use them in your code using import keyword. I will teach in the next session. Then this basically regular expression, RE means regular expression. So you're trying to find all in this entire string. You are trying to find out this particular patterned string present or not. So what we are looking for, search for a sequence that starts with HE followed by two any characters and an O. So here dot dot is there. So to understand what is dot dot, you can just see the meta characters. So here dot indicates what? Any character. Then cap indicates starts with, dollar indicates ends with, star means zero or more occurrence, plus means one or more occurrence, and question means zero or one occurrence. So here in this case, you see why I'm getting empty bracket here. Can anyone tell me? Dot question mark. So what is question mark? Zero or one occurrence only. But here after dot question mark is there. So any character can appear, but it should appear only once. So here hello after HE, L is appearing twice. So it is returning empty. So I'll just remove this L. So now I'm getting the output, right? Yeah. So understood, right? So question mark means zero or one occurrence. If I change it to star, it will return true or false. It will return true only because any number of characters. Plus also will give you because plus indicates zero or one occurrence, right? One or more occurrence. So you should know this meaning of this meta characters. Then only you will understand when we apply on the problems, right? So a lot of meta characters are there. These are special sequences starting with backslash. So B means what? returns the match when the specified characters are at the beginning or at the end of the word. So please go through this entire page, regular expression page, for next session. So in the next session, we will do some problem solving based on this concept, regular expression concept, right? Along with this, yeah. So here one more thing, compile is also there, which is not there in this site. So you can refer some other site. Compile. Okay. So there's something called as compile. Yeah. So you can go to this PyNative. Along with those models which I mentioned in the W3 schools, you can go from this site PyNative. You can explore also what is re.compile. Okay, so you can create a pattern, right? And so what does this do? Is used to compile a regular expression pattern provided as a string, right? So you can just explore the examples here. A lot of good examples are there. So here, for example, this is a pattern. Compile means it has to start with the double quotes, R double quotes, then special sequence, then meta character. So what does this indicate? We are looking for 3 consecutive digits exactly in the pattern. So here we have some input, right? In this string, we are looking for, is there any number that is having exactly 3 digits? So what is the output it will return? It will return all the values, all the integer values, right? So you can see, because we have exactly same number. That is called as re.compile. You have to pass the regular expression, and you can directly print that return value. So it will filter all the such characters based on the pattern, and it will store the result as a list. Okay. So this is the importance of regular expression. So a lot of in detail functions are there which you need to practice daily, right? So you can refer this site as well as W3 schools, and prepare and come for the next session. And along with this, I also want you guys to learn NumPy. So please go through this NumPy. Okay. So why NumPy is required? What is the need of NumPy, and what are the most important library files supported by NumPy? So study these two for the next session, and we will see some problems based on these two topics. Okay. So I'll see you on the next session. Thank you.